time and energy and do it. But it's a great checklist to remind yourself where you're losing profits or where you're losing time on things. And what I do is I help you prioritize which of these things you should get off your plate first. So usually the assistant is the first thing. The second thing is the bookkeeper. Who loves doing their own books here?
Oh, jeez. It was so good to get that off my plate.
Yeah. Bookkeeping should never be done by an entrepreneur. Do you know why? Because we are not good with money. But you have to. You have to have control. See, here's the thing. The big mistake that many people make is over-delegating. And when you over-delegate, you are abdicating responsibility. So when I work with people to get the books off their plate or any of these things, one thing you have to do is you have to know how to lead with the right controls. What that means is you get someone to do the day-to-day so you're not bogged down or it's not getting done. And then you have a control in place where you know what to review so you have the right information at the right time. It's the difference between getting sucked down into the weeds and having the high-level information you need when you need it so you can make the right decisions. Does that make sense? So yes, you're
Absolutely.
Okay. Let me tell you a quick story about that. I worked with a client a few years ago. She was in a partnership. And because she was in a partnership with her husband was not good with bookkeeping, and she was slightly better, she got the responsibility of doing the bookkeeping. Guess what? It never got done. And when it did get done, it was really messy. But it took me 6 months working with her to get her to hire a bookkeeper and get it off her plate. And when we did, she discovered $20,000 more money that they had because she had messed up the books and was trying to keep up with it herself. So when we get the right things off our plate, you also get to have little exciting gifts like that, and you learn all the mistakes you've been making along the way. The third thing is getting marketing help. Who would feel like you would die and gone to heaven if you could have someone help you do your marketing all the time? Okay.
I can give you cards.
This is a more, what I call the next level. Once you get the basics handled, then we've got to look at where else are we bottlenecking? Where else are we doing things that someone else can do better, faster? Come on, we're just a mantra. Better, faster, or cheaper. And the marketing manager, or a marketing assistant for some of us, will start to take things off your plate that should be done with marketing, but you never have time to do. Or will help you build what I call the marketing machine, the system that's optimized to generate the leads you need when you need them. I love having help with marketing. Who would love to have someone else running that machine for you? Okay. Then customer service. Okay, so next thing typically is customer service. Now sometimes customer service comes first before marketing. Depends on where the holes are. So one of the things we always have to look at is where are the breakdowns that cause you the most stress or are impacting your clients. So customer service usually comes in here somewhere. Then comes the business manager. And the business manager is what most people dream of. Someone who runs your business for you and tells you where to show up. Do you guys remember when Bill Gates stepped down as CEO and said, I'm going to go back to being the creative director. I'm going to do what I do best. Who remembers that pivotal moment? Why do you think he did that? Do you guys know who Bill Gates is?
No.
Yes. Okay. Just checking. That was a test. I wanted to see who was asleep. So Bill Gates realized that when he was not in his zone, the business lost money. The direction that the company was going in terms of creative outlet and design and getting his vision out in the world was suffering. And he knew he was not born to be a business manager. And I think everybody in the company probably did jumping jacks and threw a big party because from what I understood, he was a ruthless, horrible manager. So you need people in the role to manage the things that they do best. You want a manager who is in their genius. Who does not like managing people and projects? Who loves managing people and projects? Okay.
Well, of course, the HR person.
Okay, so you have to know where your strengths are and what would be the best suited for you. And then last is typically the salespeople. And again, some of this is a little interchangeable, but why do you think you might hire salespeople? Does anyone feel like they're ready to hire salespeople right now? You would love to have people help you make enrollment conversations, or do sales for you, make cold calls, outbound calls. Okay. What I find is that most people will hold off way too long to get sales help because you're scared to death to let go. Or you're really bad at it and you have no idea how to train someone else to do it. It's usually one of those two things. So one of the reasons why we get salespeople on board is because most of us, that's not our passion. And even if it is, can someone else help extend your bandwidth and get more sales because you are getting other people to replicate what you have done alone up to now? You see how it starts to work? Bandwidth expansion happens when you get other people to take the money-making tasks off your plate, the administrative tasks off your plate, or the ability to replicate what only you've been able to do up to now. Now, step 4 was a very painful step for me. Is it okay if I be really transparent and authentic with you guys? I feel like it's kind of like Craig and I have known each other for so long. I feel like, Craig and I kind of tell each other everything that's going on behind the scenes. This was a real scary and very, what we might say, humbling moment for me in my business that happened about 6 or 7 years ago now. I've been in business for 14 years. And there was a day, I had built my team up to 14 people. We were singing along in high 6, 7 figures. And I was ready to pull my hair out. I was not enjoying this process. And I'm like, what is wrong? And I realized that even though I knew how to inspire other people, I had hit what I knew at the time as my wall, where I didn't realize that I had become the bottleneck. So instead of me being here and having leverage come out for me, I had built it all around me. So guess what? I was in the middle. I was the hub. I had become the bottleneck to every single thing that could move through me into someone on my team. So guess what that meant for me? Stress. I was unable to exponentially grow because they were waiting for me to tell them what to do next. So has anybody hit that bottleneck here where you feel like you may be bottlenecking your growth because you are holding on to too much in the business? Yeah? Let's throw out some of the places where we might be bottlenecking. Would you mind sharing how you do?
Instead of returning the question with a question, like, what do you think the solution is? Try to come up with all the solutions. And so then you become the go-to guy.
You train people to come to you for problem solving instead of empowering them to solve the problems and tell you what they're going to do. That's a huge bottleneck. Anyone else have some bottleneck areas that, Evan?
I do like creative campaign management, like online marketing, and oftentimes what happens is they're kind of looking to me, like the customers are looking to me to kind of run the ship rather than my consultants who are the actual developers. So it's, I get the information passed on to me, who I have to pass on to the developer, and vice versa, rather than just connecting the two of them and letting it go.
So you ultimately have become the project manager and the director of traffic.
And I don't like doing that.
No, I wouldn't. And it's also not, you can't expand that way because there's only so much of you. So that's a great example. Anybody else have an example where the bottleneck may show up for you?
Sign-offs on things.
Sign-offs,
approvals on
approvals,
clients.
decision-making.
We've actually just implemented a new system because that has to
Yeah.
go.
That's a perfect example where we bottleneck. And by the way, if you're still doing it all yourself, would that be a bottleneck? Yeah, you are the bottleneck because you are the only thing. Yeah, the bottle, exactly. So over the years, there's quite a few places where I've seen these bottlenecks happen, and I'll share the ones that I'm most familiar with in my own experience and through the experience of my clients. First of all, your identity. Your identity becomes the bottleneck. Who can tell me what I mean by that? Anybody know?
You mean your brand?
Your identity and your role. Okay? Yes.
I'm the CEO.
I'm the CEO.
It stops at me.
It stops at my desk.
I'm the only one that can do
I'm
it.
the only one that can do it. Here's what happened for one of the clients. I actually had a client who was very well known in the system. She designed systems for people, and we were working on exponentially growing her business. And she came to me and she said, I can't get out of this bottleneck. And I said, why? And she said, I don't know what I would do with myself if I didn't have this job. And when we're too wrapped up in the identity of doing what we've been doing, and we have over-identified with that being the most important thing we do, we've lost track with being a leader. It causes us to bottleneck. Perfectionism. Anyone have that perfectionism streak? If I want it done right, I have to do it myself. No one can ever do it as good as I can. A very wise friend of mine, Craig was mentioning earlier that he met me originally because I was in some pictures with some very well-known entrepreneurs here locally, and one of them was a really good friend of mine for many years, and she became a 7-figure success story very quickly, and I was always like, okay, what is she doing next? What is she doing next? I wanted to really understand her thought process, and when it came time for me to get on my bottleneck, I turned to her and I said, okay, how does this work? Tell me what you're doing. She said, I had to let go to grow. And I had to get that no one was ever going to do it the way I would, but if it got done, and it was done inside my integrity, it was good enough. Huge bottleneck. Monkey management, which is what Jax was saying earlier. You hand something off, they don't know what to do, they bring it back to you. That's monkey management. Okay? So what we do is we empower people to bring their problems and their incompletions and their mistakes back to us to get fixed because we do it. Gotta stop that. Holding on to an idea in your head so long that you cannot properly delegate it to your team. Here's a perfect example of this. I'm going to launch this new program. You keep it in your head, you keep it in your head, you keep it in your head. Then all of a sudden the time is right, and let's say you do have a team, or you've got a graphic designer or a web team or whatever you call, and you're like, I'm going to do this thing and I need it done next week. They're like, dude, I'm sorry, I'm booked for like a month. We do this all the time. We burn out our team and we ineffectively delegate because we keep things in our heads so long and we don't tell people how to help us. Okay, it's under-delegating. I'm going really fast, so I'm trying to get through a lot of things tonight. Making all the decisions, as Amy said earlier, you're the only person that can do approvals and decision-making. So now, instead of teaching people how to think like you and be strategic and make the decisions you would, you just make them, and they never learn. So they keep coming to you to get it through. Approvals. And lacking a proactive game plan. Who here has ever found themselves reactively going, oh my God, I totally forgot we need to do that, and now your team's jumping through fires and staying up all night trying to catch up with something that needs to get done. Anybody ever do that? I will admit, I have done that. And if you're not raising your hand, I know you're just not comfortable telling on yourself right now, so that's okay. We're all entrepreneurs. Most of us think of things and want them done in overnight. This reminded me of a client that I had worked with for many years, and she was really struggling to keep her team. She would hire this great team and then they'd quit. And so she hired me to optimize her business with her, and we started looking at what was going on, and I realized that she would literally get an idea and she would change everything her team was doing to manifest that idea tomorrow. And then halfway through the day, she'd be like, wait, no, we're going to do this. And she would change the direction that everybody was going. And they're like, whoa, can we just get something done before we move on to the next big idea that you have? And not only that, but she was expecting her team to work all night to get it done. Okay? That's reactive. And we will burn our teams out, and we will be, bad Santa, that's bad management. Or we'll say bad entrepreneur. Right? We are not engaging ourselves. We're not optimizing our ability to grow when we're in that state. I'm not going to ask you to tell yourself to see who else does that, but I will fully admit I have been that person. And you don't know what you don't know until you know it's not an effective strategy. So the most successful entrepreneurs on the planet, I will tell you, 60 to 70% of the people that you go, look how amazing they are doing that behind the scenes. And they're burning out their teams, and they're working all hours of the night. And that's one of the things that gets in the way of the lifestyle. Question?
I'll tell on a client. I have a client.
You're only allowed to tell on yourself here.
That every time I see an email from this client or the phone, or it's that client on the phone, it's always, we have a trade show, I forgot to order something, make it happen.
How many of you are
Every
dealing
time.
with reactive clients? Their lack of planning has become your emergency to solve.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love this saying. Your lack of planning does not constitute an emergency on my part.
Except for a 20%, for a 20% fee, no problem.
Well, one of the things I do when I work with my leaders is I teach them how to train the people that are their clients on how to be more effective. And it's wonderful when you realize you actually have a lot more control over that than you realize. So we're going to cover the last strategy that I'm going to get into tonight. And it's the understanding the difference between what you're doing up to now and what you will be doing when you really learn how to optimize your business, which is leading. I'm kind of curious, is there anybody here who knew that you wanted to be an entrepreneur and you thought, I'm going to be a leader someday? Couple? Most of us don't go into having our own business with this vision of being a leader. We think, how can I do something that I love to do and make money, right? And in the beginning, that's what we do. We get really good at getting money in the door in exchanging what we love to do. And there becomes a point in every entrepreneur's journey where you have to upgrade the strategies that got you where you are right now in order to get where you want to go next. You guys follow that? What got you here will not get you there.
Yep.
And this was a lightning bulb moment for me when I realized that the strategies that got me to my first 6 figures could not be done more. I could not do more of it. I could not add more of it and get to and sustain 7 figures. Or have a bigger impact. Not everybody has the dream of being a millionaire. It's not what it's about for some people. It's not about making more money. It's about impacting more people or having more time for what you enjoy. So in the moment when you're changing the strategy, one of the most powerful things to realize is that you have to upgrade your own personal productivity plan from being the doer and being the manager to learning what it could mean if you took on being leader. And many of us, this is such a paradigm shift. You might go, nah, not for me. Or you might think, that's down there. But what if it was right now? Imagine what could be different if you were spending more time in your genius zone. And you could exponentially grow your income and your impact because you spent time being a leader. Who can tell me what you imagine it means to be a leader as an entrepreneur? Got an idea what that might mean? What your role is that you might never have known is to be the visionary, to be the brand of the business, and to inspire and be a catalyst for other people to help you achieve the goal. That is the leader's job. And now, depending on the company and how you define leader, there'll be other pieces and parts to that. But someone said earlier, I think it was you, Jack, I don't like managing people. Because when you're managing, you're actually outside of your genius zone. But when you're leading, you're in your genius zone. And there's a distinct difference between getting in the weeds and having all that overwhelm of trying to get projects and people to get done on time and to make sure everything's happening properly, and being a leader who is energized and expanding their impact and all of the things they want to do. So what I want to do is, let's see, where are we at on time?
We're just about there.
Okay. So what I want to do is, and here's, by the way, just real quick, these are some of the things that leaders do when they're in the zone. They're focusing on their strategic plan and getting that strategic plan clear, and they're engaging other people to help them make that plan happen. They stop thinking, I have to do it myself, or I got to move all these parts, and I got to figure it all out, and they realize that when they're engaging a team, they're able to get these parts done without having to figure it all out. Who here knows that when you're solving problems, you're kind of getting juiced up? Any big problem solvers? Okay, one of the things that's keeping you stuck is that you are being the problem solver. So these are the things that when leaders are in that zone, they're actually exponentially growing. This is the strategy that worked for me, has worked for many of my clients when we're optimizing them, is to really look at how to tap into this. So if I have some resources that would help, is it okay if I just share with you real quick a couple of next steps that if you're interested in, it would be valuable for you, that could work for you? Is that okay with you guys?
Yes.
Okay. So one of the things is, I actually have a little handout here, and they're not at the table because I want to only give them to the people that really want them. Is I have a free gift that I would like to share with you guys tonight. And it's this training to a whole nother level, plus it's 101 ways to triple your income and time off. Remember that checklist I mentioned earlier, all the different ways in which you could be delegating to free up time and energy. And normally I charge $97 for this program, and I would love to give it to you guys as your gift tonight. It's one of my ways of saying thank you to Craig for having me here, and I know if you guys are part of Craig's community, that you are valuable, you have a great gift to give, and I'd love to help support you. So if you'd like that, just raise your hand, and Donnie or I will make sure. Donnie, could I get your help with that? Also on here is, here, I'll just give you guys a couple there. What I need you to do is just, Craig, sorry, Craig, here you go. So what I need you to do is just fill out your contact information. You know, all I need is your email. If you want to share the rest, that's fine. There's some passing around right there. And I will email you access to this training. Okay, so it's all downloadable. The training is via the web. You can listen to it on audio. You can listen to it on the webcast, whichever one works for you. You can download the report. And I want you to go through the report, and I want you to scan that and look for all the delegatable opportunities that can help you expand. Now, I also know that some of you may be really prime and right on that edge of really wanting to get this team thing handled. Is there anybody here who team building is like really up for you right now, and you wish you knew how to like get that to the next level? So I have a program called Build Your Dream Team. I only teach it once every 3 or 4 years, and I happen to be teaching it in a couple weeks. I'm not going to get into all the ins and outs of it right now. You can see on the resource page, there's some little resources on your table. It looks like this. And I overread for you a couple of the resources that I thought might be valuable if you wanted to optimize your business. On that page, I share with you what it would be like if you went through the home study version. It's a $2,000 program. Let's tell you that right up front. It is very comprehensive. It will rock your world. It takes you through every single step of building your business. Plus, I give you systems, checklists, and templates that you will need that I've spent $20,000 getting designed by different consultants over the years. And I'm going to give all those to you to help you with this team building process. Now, here's the deal.